What? All right. So recently, I've been watching a lot of these like black legends of comedy, and I wanted to talk about them. People like Paul Mooney and Dick Gregory and Richard Pryor, and these guys who are just really honest. And then the people who are following in their footsteps, like Dave Chappelle and Cat Williams, and how we're seeing those kind of comedians, those truth tellers, really be censored or threatened and have weird things going on in their life. So I kind of wanted to talk about that today. Let's do that. So even though I was introduced to comedians like Richard Pryor and Paul Mooney through shows like Dave Chappelle, I never really invested in watching specials or the kind of comedy that Paul Mooney and Richard Pryor did until recently. But I really started getting into them because if I were to answer that question that I've always hated since I was a kid, when people are like, "Who's your role model?" or "Who do you look up to?" or "Who do you admire?" and people are always just like willy nilly with that because I have very few people that I respect enough to be like, I idolize you to the point where I want to mold my life in a way that would follow what I believe you're doing, kind of thing. I don't know, like that whole idol worship and being a fan of somebody, that's short for fanatic. All that stuff resonates with me. So I don't like to say I'm, influenced heavily by many people, but these men are really people who speak their truth and aren't afraid about it. And it's really introducing me to this side of black comedy and black culture that I never knew before. And actually, I've said it in many videos in the past. My sister married a black guy when I was only 12, so I've actually grown up around a lot of black culture, being immersed in it. I always thought it was cool. I didn't understand racism, but I never really cared to think into it very much. That's white privilege for you. But I always knew it was existent, and I don't know. I had a weird. Did you grow up weird with race? Because I loved hip hop and rap music, but that was my sister's influence on me because I worshipped like everything she did. She was older than me. Okay, getting way too deep. Anyway, black culture always had an influence in my life, but the comedy, I guess, which I didn't realize was where you were going to hear a lot of truth. I wish I would have been immersed in that because these men are speaking so honest and talking about things that a lot of people, especially white people, are afraid to talk about. And they go real heavy in on issues like race and war and politics and stuff like that. And they really question people and they hold people accountable, which I really respect. But on the flip, you have to admit it's also kind of creepy to watch that all these men that I've listed and more have been threatened and have been forced to either shut up or self-censor, or they've been killed. Like with Richard Pryor, it's still a mystery with his death. I know a lot of people question the official story, and he was a very outspoken man, and he spoke against a lot of rich and powerful white elite. So it does make you question, did that play a role? And I think the reason I think about this so much is because I do want to enter the realm of comedy, but I don't want to do it like a stand-up comic would normally do it. I don't want to do it for a paycheck. I want to do it to get a message out there. I really do. And I don't think we have many people who are being honest and who are naturally funny and know how to merge the two. I went to Helium Comedy Club here in Portland just a couple months ago, and there was this kid. He was only like 19. He had me rolling on the floor because he was so funny. He knew how to mix in really intelligent humor to make the crowd laugh, the masses laugh, but also get them thinking. And I really appreciate comedians like that. I think that's so brilliant, and it's very rare. It's very rare that comedians right now are pushing the boundaries. Everybody's being censored left and right. Every famous comedian is on an apology tour every other year saying they're sorry they offended some minority or group. It's getting out of control, people. Like, we have to remember that these comedians are supposed to be the artists that are at the forefront of what society talks about, what culture is created, what is allowed, and what, they push the boundaries so far because you have to decide, is this something that we're ready to talk about? I mean, it's a comedian's job, whether you like it or not, to offend, because they're really the pioneers of getting things talked about. It's true. It's been true since the dawn of man. Look back. I mean, jesters back in the time of, Shakespeare and monarchy and all that, they were really important people. And I think it's important that we are able to laugh at ourselves, and we're able to realize that through pain there is humor, and there's always a reason to smile and to laugh, and situations that are so bleak don't always have to be SJW infused propaganda, fighting machines. I just feel like we're in a time where we're being manipulated, because it's a lot of passive aggressive politically correctness going on, and it's really important that we pay attention to that, and that we stand up to allowing each other freedom of speech. And even if that offends, that's okay, because if you look up these comedians like Paul Mooney and Dick Gregory and Richard Pryor, they didn't care if they offended you. They didn't care. And I appreciate people like that, because sometimes I need to be offended, because I've not thought enough about that issue, and so it offends me because my ego is like, oh my god, information that challenges my safety. It's like, it's true. These men are talking a lot of issues that white people still don't deal with. And this is 2016. They were saying it back in the 70s. Like, it's crazy, and it's intimidating when you see that these people are threatened or forced to shut up or killed. It's really scary, especially in the black community. It's just really creepy when you're watching them being censored, and you see, like, Paul Mooney, a lot of people are talking on YouTube that he sounds different, and then it might have been confirmed that he's dealing with the onset of dementia, and people are questioning it back and forth, and you just have these scary things happening to these guys that shouldn't be happening, and they're too young for this shit, and it's just a little creepy. Like, who's going after them, and what are they saying that's pissing people off? That's intimidation tactics that keep us all silent, It's scary. I think I'm starting to wake up to the fact that black people, especially in this country, are really, really strong and powerful, and we've been deceived to give them the credit they deserve because of race wars, and to an extent it isn't your fault, because you've been brainwashed in a sense. It's institutionalized at the beginning of school. Just look at how, on maps, there's this woman who went on Oprah and talked about just, size-wise, they make white or European countries bigger than any other country with people of color. It's just a psyche trip from the beginning. Like, it's what you learn in school. It's really important, too, because everything is related, so you can write it off thinking, like, something better or different, but that is really the root of racism. It's systemic. We're perpetuating it by not dealing with it, and that's why I appreciate these comedians. Really take the time, look into these guys if you haven't heard of them. There's people like Dick Gregory, Richard Pryor, Paul Mooney. That's like the first generation of badass, I'm gonna tell it like it is, at least that I know of. Maybe there's guys before them, maybe there's guys who influenced them. I wish to find out if there are, but and then next gen, like Cat Williams and Dave Chappelle, even Chris Rock, Eddie Murphy at times in his career, although he's kind of a recluse at this point, you don't hear much from him, but a lot of people who are telling the truth, who haven't been tainted too much by Hollywood. That's the important part, because whether you like to admit it or not, you don't have to believe in the Illuminati or anything like that. I'm not saying that, but whether you like it or not, money controls a lot of what you are hearing and what is influencing you, because of what your actors and your musicians and your comedians who are bought and paid for talk about. So it's just a fact, and you need to look for the people who aren't as mainstream, because they're equally, if not more, important for you to listen to. So that's my sound bit. I just wanted to speak on this topic because, like I said, I am in this field. I want to be in this field, and I don't want this field to get too whitewashed. I don't want it to get too cleansed. Like, it does need to be dirty, and it needs to be gritty. Comedy is important, and it can get disgusting, and it needs to get foul, and it needs to be ridiculous at times, because that's how we push forward. It really, truly is. It's the way that humanity can keep hope alive, because if you can't laugh, then what's the point? Because life is hard. And I don't care who you are. I don't care what hardship you're going through. You're just feeling a portion of pain that all humanity feels. I mean, we all know what pain is in our own way, and we can only imagine how it feels for others, but we have an innate feeling that we've all been through it. We get it. We know what hardships feel like, and that's why we can be empathetic to each other and we're connected. And we just need to realize that and stop letting the ego rule. The ego is the first thing that acts. It's acting out of anger. It wants to suppress compassion and empathy. And you really just have to learn breathing techniques and how to calm your mind, and it'll totally change your life. That's another video. I've talked about it in the past. Contribute what you'd like. Really add discussion, make comments below. I'm curious to hear what you have to say. Let me know if you're into these comedians that I talked about, or if you know of others that I should look into. I love these guys right now. I'm watching all the specials on YouTube that I can find. So check them out, take the time, talk about issues like this. It's really important. And take time to think about how comedians these days are being censored, and if it's a good idea to jump on that bandwagon. Anyway, take care of yourself today. Peace out.